Rejoice, ye Christians, loudly, for your joy is now begun. Wondrous things our God hath done. Tell abroad his goodness proudly, who our race hath honored thus, that he deigns to dwell with us. Joy, oh joy, beyond all gladness, Christ hath gone away with sadness, hence all sorrow and repining, for the Son of grace is shining. See, my soul, thy Saviour chooses weakness here and poverty. In such love he comes to thee, nor the hardest couch refuses. All he suffers for thy good, to redeem thee by his blood. Joy then, joy beyond all gladness, Christ hath done away with sadness, hence all sorrow and repining, for the Son of grace is shining. O come, ye servants of the Lord, and praise his holy name. From earth to setting sun, his might on earth proclaim. O come, ye servants of the Lord, and praise his holy name. From earth to setting sun, his might on earth proclaim. His laws are just and glad the heart. He makes his mercies known. Ye praise his kindness, ye priests to and bow before his throne, and bow before his throne. His laws are just and glad the heart. He makes his mercies known. Ye praise his kindness, ye priests to and bow before his throne, and bow before his throne. Those lives were mine to love and cherish, to guard and guide along life's way. O God, forbid that one should perish, that one, alas, should go astray. Back in the years my all for my dear children, their problems still with love I share. I'd brave life's storms, defy the tempest, to bring them home from anywhere. I lived my life, my love I gave them, to guide them through this world of strife. I hope and pray we'll live together in that great glad hereafter life. I'm lonesome for my precious children. They live so far away. Oh, may they hear my calling, and come back home someday. I'm lonesome for my precious children. They live so far away. Oh, may they hear my calling, and come back home someday. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of His hand.
Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. No one, let me come in. The doors are shut and all the windows in. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Noah said you done lost your track. You can't plow straight and keep it looking back. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. If you want to go to heaven, let me tell you how. Just keep your hand on the gospel plow. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. If that plow stays in your hand, land you straight in the promised land. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Mary had a golden chain. Every link spelled my Jesus' name. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. Keep on climbing and don't you tire. Every round goes higher and higher. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand upon the plow and hold on.
Oh, rejoice, ye Christians, loudly, for your joy is now begun. Wondrous things our God hath done. Tell abroad his goodness proudly, who our race hath honored thus, that he deigns to dwell with us. Joy, oh joy, beyond all gladness, Christ hath gone away with sadness, hence all sorrow and repining, for the Son of grace is shining. See, my soul, thy Savior chooses weakness here and poverty. In such love he comes to thee, nor the hardest couch refuses. All he suffers for thy good, to redeem thee by his blood. Joy then, joy beyond all gladness, Christ hath done away with sadness, hence all sorrow and repining, for the Son of grace is shining. O come, ye servants of the Lord, and praise his holy name.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you in as we start the second hour to celebrate Phil. We are so good community that we have to almost put that on hold real quick to get started. Thank you, guys.
His laws are just and glad the heart he makes.
Welcome to all of you for this second hour. Special welcome to Phil and Irene's immediate family, daughters Sharon, Christina, and Andrea, and sons-in-law Patrick and Ben, and 5 grandchildren, and other members of the extended family that I have seen. I won't name you all, but thank you for joining us today for this occasion. One comment of explanation: Bruce Stambaugh has been the designated photographer for this morning, so he will be roaming perhaps, and let him, well, smile when Pastor Phil mentioned in his reflections this morning that he's had numerous sources of inspiration, particularly family members who have shaped his life, particularly in ministry. He's had other ways of being inspired, and this will come back as a theme later, but the outdoors, represented by this tree and plants. He's been a hiker, a biker, into gardening, small groups. He's been inspired by pastoral colleagues and friends, music, and caffeine. And you may recall that he gave it up for Lent one year and began his Easter Sunday morning sermon by taking a big swig of coffee. I'm guessing that was a first for many congregations. Last Sunday, I noted that Phil's sermons are deeply rooted in the biblical text, and I stand by that assertion. It's not only that brewing coffee was inspired by the study of Hebrews. You should know that his love of baseball also comes from the very first verse in Genesis, in the big inning. Now, as a Phillies fan, I'm not quite sure how that fits with being a Nationals fan. They don't seem to have very many big innings, but usually Phil's interpretations of the scriptures were trustworthy, but maybe it was just me, but I thought it was a little suspect when he tried to make the case one Pentecost that the early church was largely based in Japan. But it is true that Acts 2 says they were all together in one accord. I'm guessing he was reading from the same version as my great-uncle Preacher Jake. Now, this is a true story. Great-uncle Preacher Jake, who told the congregation one Sunday that he and his wife were leaving the next morning to drive from Iowa to Texas. And he invoked the Apostle Paul's letter to the Philippians to justify the vacation. I have learned that whatsoever state I am in, therewith to be content. So I offer that to you, Phil and Irene, as a good verse for your retirement travels, to be content no matter what state you are in. Some of you are a little slow this morning, but that's okay. So as you know, we are celebrating 40 years of ministry for Phil in 3 congregations in the past 28 years here as senior pastor at Parkview. So just to give you a bit of a sense as to what's coming, I will introduce various parts, but we're going to hear tributes from pastoral colleagues, congregants at Emmanuel Mennonite in Gainesville, Florida, Community Mennonite here in Harrisonburg and Parkview. We will begin with a video clip from the current small group and then followed by video tributes from each of the congregations he served.
The bread we share is a reminder of Christ's presence with us and of the community and commitment we give and receive at this table. The wine we drink together brings to our hearts and minds the sacrifice Christ willingly made for our redemption. It is a symbol of the healing grace we receive when we gather here.
I'm coming down.
And how many clinks was that, Phil?
I don't think I clinked with
Sorry.
21.
21 clinks. Here we go.
Hi, Phil. Hi, Irene. Gosh, when we started coming to church, you guys were young parents. It was 1986. We were pregnant with our first. I remember just how nurturing you were to your children, to the congregation, to Mark and I. We were in our 20s and away from Ohio where we had grown up. We really appreciated the food that you shared with us, your insight. We watched you, how you were with your kids and how you were as a married couple. It meant a lot to us because we were just starting out ourselves and we had so many questions about things and things that we didn't know. I guess the biggest word that comes to mind for me is how nurturing you were and just the love that we felt. We're lucky enough to have stayed friends with you since you've been gone from Gainesville and kept in touch to know what's going on with your kids and grandkids. And now we're grandparents and you've just been really good role models for us. Thank you so much.
Phil and I co-pastored Community Mennonite Church together in the early 90s for about 6 years. And as I reflected on our time together, I realized we had a few really memorable weddings that we shared. 2 of them happened in March of 1993. The first memory was a rather scary one when a groomsman fainted in the middle of Phil's meditation. He wasn't hurt, thank goodness, and we were all a bit shook up, but he was able to recess with the rest of the group when it was time. 1 week later was the snowed-in, snowed-out wedding. We were officiating for a wedding that happened about an hour's drive from Harrisonburg, and as it began to snow on Friday, Phil left to conduct the evening rehearsal for the Saturday wedding. My plan was to go on Saturday, but I never got there because it never stopped snowing. The wedding party and their families who went on Friday ended up getting snowed in at the church, had to sleep there, and most of the guests and I were snowed out and missed the whole wedding. The good news is they still got married. In 1996, at another wedding at CMC, we were visited by a bat that flew from the balcony area, swooping down over the guests, landing up in the front somewhere. And then after a few more passes back and forth again, it disappeared. And we proceeded with the wedding as planned. All of these things point out how flexible you have to be when you're a pastor, because you just never know what's going to happen. Thanks, Phil, for showing me the ropes of pastoral ministry in many ways, and how we just have to learn to go with the flow. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to team up with you, and I wish you deep, deep rest in your retirement. Retirement is a sweet thing. May you know the fullness of God's love and presence in every way.
Hi, Phil. Happy retirement. And congratulations on your 40 years of pastoral ministry. What an amazing accomplishment. And for your 28 years at Parkview Mennonite Church. And for 17 years of working with me. That's amazing, and it was challenging probably for you. But we had a great time of ministry together. And I thank you for your strong, loyal, faithful commitment to your work at Parkview, to Virginia Conference, and to the larger Mennonite Church. You have given decades of service to follow your calling, and we owe much to you. I personally learned a great deal from you in my pastoring work, and I think we made each other better pastors as we worked together. But now it's time for you to step back, to let go of the heavy responsibilities that you've had and carried for many, many years, and to truly enjoy a next chapter in your life. So set aside all of that time that you gave for planning, preparing, preaching, and doing all the things necessary in your work. And take some time now as you let go of those heavy responsibilities. I hope you and Irene together can find times to hike and bike and maybe write your memoirs, to read all those books you wanted to read, to linger over a cup of your good coffee on your front porch, and especially to play and visit with your grandchildren. So thank you, Phil, for your gifts to us as a congregation here at Parkview, for your gifts to me personally as a dedicated follower of Jesus Christ. And may your retirement be one of great joy and fulfillment in the days ahead. Thank you, and God bless you and Irene. Bye.
My name is Phil Carnegie. Phil Niss and I related to each other as spiritual companions as we navigated the terrain of pastoral ministry, each in our respective congregations. We met weekly for some 18 or 20 years. The purpose of our meeting was not to talk about each other's congregation. The intent was to help each other pay attention to how we were doing as pastors. We asked how pastoral ministry was enhancing or inhibiting our walk with God, and how our spirituality, or the lack thereof, was affecting our ministry. How are you experiencing God this week was a common question. Where do you see God? How is pastoral ministry life-giving for you, or how is it life-draining? What is energizing you? What is killing you? We met to listen to each other and to support and encourage each other. This weekly rhythm provided a centering ritual of spiritual and pastoral care. It helped ground us. It gave each of us a colleague to be vulnerable with. So thank you, Phil, for your time and investment in this journey. And as you move into a new season of life now, along with Irene, I wish you all the best. Be grateful for the tapestry of people in life who have made you who you are, but don't feel guilty about carving out more time for yourself. Make more coffee. Drink coffee, your own coffee. Let the mornings come on slow. Enjoy the grandkids. Do more biking. Stay healthy for as long as you can. Thanks for being you, Phil, and for all you've contributed to my life. Really appreciate it. Blessings as your life flows on.
Hey there, Phil. Patty Huffman here, and it's just a delight to be able to be one of the folks that join in wishing you Godspeed as you move forward into the freedom of not having to be the shepherd of the flock at your church, at Parkview Mennonite Church. They are going to miss you, and we are all going to miss you. You've added so much to the life of so many here in the Harrisonburg community, not just at Parkview and other churches that you serve, Phil, but in your work with the Interfaith Association particularly, and doing things like the Lenten prayer walk, the Good Friday walk. And I love especially, I've really, really, really loved at Parkview your invitation to all of us to come and be part of the Taizé services on Wednesday evenings. That Wednesday evening became one of my favorite days of the week. It was just the perfect way to end the day, and I treasure the memory of those times when we gathered at Parkview for those Taizé services. So I just wanted to say thank you. I wanted to say Godspeed. I really hope that this time of retirement leads you and Irene to be able to travel and do some fun stuff and not be so tied down to the really hard work of shepherding a faith community. I certainly know, the real, well, anyhow, you know what I'm saying. It's really hard to be a pastor sometimes, and you've been wonderful, and that Parkview is definitely going to miss you, but I'm sure you'll continue. Bye.
There was one question that came to my mind as I was listening to those, and I'm sure many others have the same question. And that is, at that wedding that you were officiating, what in the world did you say that caused the groom to faint? You must have frightened him, but We all know that Phil enjoys music, and he has been a participant and a lover of good music, and we are gratified that Cantori is here this morning, most of them. There are a couple members missing, I believe, but if you would come, please. We need Phil to sing with us because both of our first tenors are pastors and the other one is occupied at his own church. We're going to do two songs. The first one we picked because we really like it, but also we thought it would be a good retirement song because the first line is, "Our bondage it shall end."
Our bondage it shall end by and by, by and by. Our bondage it shall end by and by. From Egypt you're set free, hail the glorious Jubilee. And to Canaan we'll return by and by, by and by. And to Canaan we'll return by and by. Our deliverer he shall come by and by, by and by. Our deliverer he shall come by and by. And our sorrows have an end with the 3 strong years and 10, and our glory from the day by and by, by and by. And our glory from the day by and by, and when victory comes, we are come, we are come. And when victory comes, we are come. Jehovah rules our time, as the waters and the waters and the ransom shout. We are come, we are come, and the ransom we shall shout. We are come. Then with all the happy throng we'll rejoice, and with all the happy throng we'll rejoice, shouting glory to our King, till the rocks of heaven ring, and through all eternity we'll rejoice, through all eternity we'll rejoice, shouting glory to our glory to all heaven, and through all eternity we'll rejoice, and through all eternity we'll rejoice.
The second song has no greater meaning, but it is about coffee.
I love coffee, I love tea, Zen buzzer.
Oh, slip me a slug from that wonderful bug, and I'll cut it and slug it. Drop your nickel in my pot, Joe.
Take it slow, waiter, waiter, percolator. I love coffee and tea. I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Oh, well, coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, boy.
We're going to be in concert tonight at Bridgewater Psych Center, 7 o'clock.
We'll hear tributes from 4 persons. Laura Rhodes, in this order, Laura Rhodes, who actually is a member of our congregation, but was a member of each of the 3 congregations that Phil served. Roy Hange, District Conference Minister. Paula Stolzfus, who is a pastoral colleague here at Parkview Mennonite. And Edgar Miller, Chair of the Congregational Council. Laura?
Friends and family that know me know that I get nervous when I speak in front of people and often emotional. So, Phil, I am following your parting words and trying to show up with courage here today. Phil, it's hard to believe we have known each other for 41 years, and for most of those years, you have been my pastor. I was 10 years old when your family moved into the duplex next to our house in Gainesville, Florida, in April 1983. I was excited that you had children that I could babysit and play with. You had just graduated with a bachelor's in social work and had about a half a year of seminary. Our Mennonite fellowship was grateful to welcome you as our first pastor. Our first Sunday service was held in Janice and Fred Brenneman's living room on Pentecost Sunday, 1983, with 4 to 5 families. Our small new church could only afford to pay you part-time as a pastor, so you also worked as a social worker and shared staying home with the kids with Irene, who was working as a nurse. I have always admired your partnership with Irene. I remember thinking Andrea, Sharon, and Christina were lucky to have both of you staying at home to care for them. And I assume the hands-on parenting role and social work experiences also influenced you as a pastor. You remained our pastor for the next 7 years until you went back to EMC to finish your seminary degree. After several months of meeting in homes, we started meeting in a room in the Holiday Inn across from the University of Florida, and eventually the Methodist Church. We decided to name our small church Emmanuel Mennonite as a reminder that God was with us. Since we were a new church, we spent a lot of time discussing who we were and what it meant to follow Jesus and live as Anabaptists in a community unfamiliar with Mennonites. Our participation in marches and peace and justice issues made a significant impression on me as a young person. I remember thinking at a peace march that this is where Jesus would be. After leaving Emmanuel, you reflected on Emmanuel's peace witness. I appreciated your words in describing Emmanuel. Quote, "We established ourselves as a Christian community with a distinct message and witness. We chose specifically not to go the route of some Christian churches who saw Christ's call to peace as peripheral or private or spiritualized. We believed that peace was at the heart of the gospel and had political and spiritual implications. We also chose not to go the route of some activist religious groups who had a strong leaning towards peace and social justice, but were hesitant to put Jesus Christ at the center of their witness. We believed peace was more than smart politics or a good way to organize society, but was only truly possible if empowered by the Prince of Peace," end quote. Our church stayed small, eclectic, and evolving due to people coming and going through the university, but we always had a small core group of committed members. Emmanuel felt more like a large family of 30 to 40 people. I remember sharing potlucks, doing service work together, including helping several of your social work clients, playing games, meeting in homes for Bible studies, caring for the community garden, and lots of celebrations. Most of the time, I was the only person my age, but I always felt supported and loved by my small church community. Since our church was so small, I spent a lot of time with the adults and listened to them ask difficult questions about their faith. At Emmanuel, I witnessed an authentic group of Christians who wanted to be the body of Christ to the community that they lived in and beyond. Emmanuel, under your leadership, was very influential on my faith formation and taught me how Christians should be in community with each other. Jason and I started attending Parkview 25 years ago. Phil, you were there for me and my family during so many important life transitions. You gave Jason and me premarital counseling and married us almost 25 years ago in this church. You came to the hospital when Miriam and Adam were born, and were the first to point out that Adam's name meant man of the earth, and truer words have never been spoken. You dedicated my children to the church, and you and Irene brought me a meal when I was receiving radiation for breast cancer. In too many too early funerals, you comforted this church and helped us feel that Christ did not abandon us, while still giving us permission to feel anger when people left this earth too soon. Your words never oversimplified our pain. Phil, it is hard to put into words what your sermons have meant to me. I appreciate the care and the attention that you give to the context of biblical stories. Not only do you help us understand the culture and the people in the stories, but you make them relevant to our lives now. In the last few years, I have felt increasingly discouraged by our world, but your sermons bring me back to the central comforting truths of our faith. Some of the themes I hear regularly are: God is love, God's love is unconditional and unwavering, we are all created in God's image, and we are called to love everyone without exceptions as God first loved us. I can't tell you how many times I have wanted to yell, "Amen," during one of your sermons. I find it impressive that in 40 years, I have never heard you repeat a sermon, and somehow you continue to challenge and bring new insights to familiar scriptures. Thank you, Phil and Irene, for your commitment to this church. You will be missed, but you will always be a part of our church family. We love you.
One early morning, years ago, I was doing Amish yoga, developed in Iowa. Most people call it gardening. I was jarred upright by a powerful smell. Freshly ground coffee beans. My wife was in the kitchen making her coffee. That was 100 feet away. Oh, wow. Every few months, my wife buys green beans from the local dealer, Phil Niss. Every few days, she goes out on our front porch and roasts them with hot air in a popcorn popper. Doesn't sound good. Speaking of hot air, Phil, since 1983, when he began his ministry, 1,326 sermons. Have you heard most of them? Officiated 215 funerals with 120 funeral sermons. 300 plus council meetings Phil did not add this, but I'm imagining you didn't fall asleep in any of those meetings. 300 plus elders meetings, 100 plus baptisms, proof Phil is all wet, 36 weddings, 4 of those have passed their 30th anniversary, and he helped plan over 2,000 worship services. No, not hot air, but the warm air of the wind of the Spirit has been blowing over you all. A kind of Anabaptist insufflation. Look up the word insufflation. A kind of Anabaptist insufflation. You thought you came here today to hear Phil roasted a bit. Nope. All these years, Phil has been roasting you. In the words of 2 Corinthians 2:15, the Apostle Paul writes, "For we are the aroma of Christ to God among those who are being saved." A few months ago, I was at a committee meeting in Parkview somewhere in one of these rooms, and was heading out to my car, and I met a Parkview member in the parking lot. We talked some time about this and that, and at a certain point, that person stood straight up like I did in the garden, looked me in the eye, and said, "Over 20 years here, I've been here listening to Phil's sermons," and looked me in the eye again and said, "I'm going to miss Phil's sermons." That person I met in the parking lot came back each Sunday for the aroma of Christ. That person's world, family, and this whole world is different because of it. That person was central in establishing the Center for Justice and Peace Building at EMU. You can guess who it is. There could have been any one of 3 or 4 persons here. And one day, 100 years from now or so, your descendants will not know. They should thank you for being willing to be transformed by the aroma of Christ. That is, roasted each Sunday. Thank you, Phil, for being a servant of the Word in your heart and in your spirit. For in all that hot air, some were tumbled, some were spun. I'm not going to say human beings. All were jarred to new life by the living and active Word. And may we all have ears to hear and noses to smell. Phil, you have served well in Virginia Conference, in Harrisonburg District, and in this beloved church. Blessings.
My years of ministry have intersected with Phil towards the beginning of his 28 years here, from 98 to 2001, and then the last 6 years that I've been here. Phil, then and now, you led and lead, valuing autonomy while also leaning into the strengths that come from a pastoral team. I think, with Barbara up here, and I know that Ross had been here earlier, maybe he's still here, but many colleagues who have worked with you longer than I have, it feels like they should have some words here too in what it's like to work with you. But I'm the most recent, so I get the pleasure, I guess. I think for me, our recent team, I think over with much fondness, reflecting that we seem to get stronger as we worked together. You have a value of listening intently, offering both challenge and compassion when needed. I've never seen you wield your seniority with superiority. You've supported those younger than you as well as women in ministry. And I would say that it has not only been in the ministry setting, but within your own family. I remember a Facebook tribute that you wrote a number of years ago honoring the women in your lives. And you are lined up right there with the strong women of your lives, and I value that. You've grown in your awareness of the privileges and power that you do have in our society, in our church, and beyond, living out a strong desire to use it for the good of others. You've challenged us as a faith body to reflect on our own privileges so that we can better use the power that we have for the good of those we come into contact with. Your value of working together has also come in our broader church leadership. I've witnessed you both lead and be open to counsel. Share your ideas as well as listen to others. And how many times have I heard you say lately, "This is what I've done, but you can feel free to do what you want. Make it your own." And I thank you for that. The grace with which you have faced your retirement is something we can all learn from. You've accomplished something few pastors have, to have remained in pastoral ministry their whole career. It is something to be honored and celebrated. Congratulations, Phil. I imagine you may be a retiree who doesn't know how they had time to work. In other words, I don't think you're going to lack for things to do. But I do imagine that you will continue to look for ways to collaborate, to listen, and to support those you find in your path to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God.
As I look over this congregation today, and a pretty full house, I was reminded of the singer-songwriter Rod Stewart. In 1971, he released a song called Every Picture Has a Story. And as I look at this picture of folks here, it certainly tells us a story of the love and respect we have for you too. Phil, I think the first time I met you was when you were working with a search committee in your role as our district overseer to find a new pastor after Owen Burkholder departed. The committee met at our house for lunch. I think we had white chicken chili. To get more familiar with a candidate that the committee was considering for the position. When that person turned down the offer to candidate for the position, you made it known that you were interested in that position. And the rest, as they say, is history. In September of 1996, when you began our ministry among us, we were a healthy congregation, although not without some stress and trauma. You came into a church community that just a year earlier celebrated the end of a 17-month building project dedicating this sanctuary and some new classrooms. And just 6 months before you came among us, we individually and corporately were grieved as we mourned the tragic loss of a young woman's life. As Harold Lehman wrote in his 50-year history of Parkview, you, Phil, quote, came to Parkview as a focused leader with abilities in preaching, congregational administration, counseling, communication skills, and music. We as a congregation have benefited from these God-given talents that you shared with us. Your understanding of and use of technology assisted in keeping us together during the difficult COVID years, and it even expanded our membership roles throughout the state, the country, and indeed the world. Now, no one could talk about Phil without mentioning a prominent facial feature,
his beard. I have a number of stories, but I thought this one. I think it was after a sabbatical that Phil came back with a beard that would have made some of our Amish kinfolk proud. Now, that might be an oxymoron, Amish and proud, I don't know. Some of us speculated that Phil might want to have entered the Mountain Man Beard Contest at the Treasure Mountain Festival in Franklin, West Virginia. We had no doubt he would have won. We never heard if Irene had any input, but before too long, that long beard was trimmed and back to what we know it to be today. More seriously, Phil, you've walked beside me and my family and me, in our darkest moments with words of empathy, compassion, and assurance. And you have joined us in our most celebratory times with words that express your own joy of being present in that moment. Thank you. You and I have spent significant time together on elders and church council and numerous search committees. And while we didn't always agree on when tackling difficult subjects, we were always able to maintain a good relationship with each other. After all, isn't that what church is supposed to be? Thank you. You have been incredibly helpful as we move into this time of transition. Your organizational knowledge of how a program gets done here at Parkview and your willingness to take the time to transfer that knowledge to others is invaluable to us. Thank you. I cannot end without mentioning your sermons. Others can talk about the theology behind your sermons. I'll simply say that they most always called us to reflect on how to live our daily lives as followers of Jesus. And while your sermons were good when you first joined us, I think they improved over time, which means that you continued to wrestle with the texts and bring new ideas for us to ponder. Thank you. Finally, as you go forward, we will not remember all the days that you spent with us, but we will certainly remember those poignant moments when, through your words, you touched our lives in significant ways. Now, the gate of retirement has swung wide open. We invite you to go through that gate and live life fully in new ways, and live life fully in new kinds of ways, always open to God's leading in your life. May you and Irene be blessed in your retirement as you have blessed us here at Parkview for the last 28 years, and many others in your 40 years of ministry. God bless you.
Mary Glick is going to share a few words about the history and the story behind the story blanket that was presented to you during children's story time this morning. And then Phil Helmuth will come, and I'll invite you, Phil Niss, to join him when he comes to also give you a couple of additional gifts, and I'll close. And then with an additional gift, and then I'll invite you to stay here if you wish to share any response. If you feel like you don't want to, that's fine. It's up to you. But I want to give you a little bit of an advance warning if you want to share a response. And then we will have a video of the small group and your closing ceremony that you do. And Sam Kaufman and the group brass quintet will do a piece called Benediction, and then I'll have a couple of announcements. Mary.
Phil and Irene, as we gift this comforter, I'm not sure where it is now, but to you, know that it is a heartfelt reminder of behind-the-scenes things that happen here at Parkview Mennonite Church. Mennonite Women has sent hundreds of comforters similar to this one, maybe not quite as pretty, to MCC over the years. Just ask Margaret Smeltzer and Pauline Myers how many tops they have pieced. Margaret pieced this one, by the way. Ask Tom Matheny how many comforter bindings he has finished. This comforter contains knotting done by him, our one token male Mennonite woman, and also knots by our young and avid stitcher, Sylvia Socks, among others, a couple months ago. It was made to the specifications of MCC, 60 inches by 80 inches, made a little special by a hand-bound binding instead of the machine binding required by MCC to keep the bugs out. In whatever way you decide to use this comforter, whether it be a story blanket, a throw on your couch or bed, a picnic or camping blanket, or even a room divider, as we've heard they have been used for in refugee camps, we hope that you will receive it as a blessing from us.
This morning we have heard tributes, we have heard reflections, and we've heard stories. And we heard Phil in his message this morning refer to walking with us. And indeed it has been a journey of 28 years with Parkview Mennonite Church and 41 years of pastoral ministry. And therefore, it's appropriate for us as a congregation to desire to continue to journey with you and Irene as you move forward, and we assume that there will be opportunities of journeying with you. And so we want to present you with a monetary travel fund for the two of you, whether you travel to Orkney Springs or to Washington, D.C., or to Springfield, Ohio, or to the Middle East, or to Mennonite World Conference. This is a travel fund, and it is only the beginning. There is more to come. This represents $3,500. And to you who are here, if you would like to contribute to it, you have an opportunity of dropping off gifts at the church office or seeing Ed Yoder. But mark it for Phil and Irene's travel fund. I also know, and I heard you say within the last several weeks, that you have enjoyed your grandchildren and even involved at least one of them in helping to do some trimming of trees and shrubs around your place. And we know your love for nature. And so the tree that is behind you is not necessarily yours, but it could be yours. And it comes from the nursery of Andre Mast. And the two of you have an opportunity of going to visit Andre's nursery, and they're selecting a tree of your choice. And if you choose to take that one, you're welcome to it. But that is only a sample of what he has in his nursery. Also a gift from the congregation. And let me add, last but not least, Irene Niss. You have been a part of helping to say that this morning is a tribute primarily to Phil and his ministry in this congregation and a celebration of his career as pastoral ministry. But we would be amiss if we did not also recognize your contribution to this congregation over the last 28 years. You have walked alongside of Phil, but you have also blessed us as a congregation with your compassion in very critical situations, but you have celebrated with us in times where we needed to celebrate. You have brought to bear your training, and your experience in the medical field that have helped us to understand when we have been in crisis physically, to understand what was happening to us. And so we want to say thank you to you as well in this time. And this plant in the front is for you to plant at your home. Thanks to both of you for your contribution and your love for us. And may we continue to extend our love to you in gratitude. Thank you.
And this is a basket of cards that you can read at your leisure, and expressions of deep appreciation to both of you. We're very, very grateful for your ministry among us.
I've already given my parting words, so I don't have much more to say other than deep, deep gratitude for all your expressions to me over these last weeks and this morning and what I'm yet to read and receive. Thank you so much. And I just want to point out, maybe it should be obvious, but for a pastor to stay 28 years and minister in one congregation really says as much about the congregation as it does about the pastor. And Parkview has had a history of long-term pastors here, and that says a lot about you. I'm so grateful for the way Parkview both supports and encourages its pastors, but also doesn't expect too much of them, because they still step forward and are present and involved and invested in the life of the congregation. They're not just leaving it up to the pastors to do everything. So it's been a great balance. I've certainly changed a lot in the 28 years I've been here. The congregation has changed a lot. About a fourth, roughly 25% of the present congregation was here when I arrived 28 years ago. So at least you've changed 75%. I've changed probably more than 75% in these 28 years, but I just appreciate all that you are, and I will be your greatest cheerleader going forward. You have a bright future, and I can't wait to see what God does with Parkview Mennonite. Thank you.
Blessings.
Couple of announcements, and then Sam Kaufman and the brass quintet will share some music. The announcements are these. Prior to the meal, we will dismiss you and invite you to go straight to the fellowship hall and find a table. There's an activity at each place setting. The slideshow that you may have seen prior to this hour will continue to loop during the meal. Remain at your tables until you are dismissed by table to go through the serving lines. And this is a note of caution. If anyone brought a dish with nuts, please excuse yourself and remove it. We failed to have that notice in the bulletin, and I know that many times we at Parkview are aware of that, but sometimes it may be has been forgotten, or somebody joining us, and we're grateful to have visitors. If you had a dish with nuts, would you please go to the fellowship hall and remove that as quickly as possible. Sam, the quintet, and then Paula will share a prayer of blessing, including a blessing for the meal. After that, you're dismissed.
Lord lift you up, the Lord take your hand, the Lord lead you forth and cause you to stand. Secure in God's word, seeking God's face, abounding in love, abiding in grace.
May this be a blessing for you and for you. Written by John O'Donohue, entitled Blessing. On the day when the weight deadens on your shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of delight. When the canvas frays, in the currach of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. And for a blessing of the food that we will eat together. May the blessings of the celebration continue around the table of plenty. May the hands that prepared the delectable treats nourish our bodies and our soul. May the fellowship of giving and receiving etch a deep love for one another in community. May there be peace around our table. Amen. Go in peace.
Lives were mine to love and cherish, to guard and guide along life's way. Oh, God forbid that one should perish, that one, alas, should go astray. Back in the years, with all together, around the place we'd romp and play. So lonely now, I often wonder, oh, will they come back home someday? I'm lonesome for my precious children. They live so far away. Oh, may they hear my calling and come back home someday. I gave my all for my dear children, their problems still with love I share. I'd brave life's storms, defy the tempest, to bring them home from anywhere. I lived my life, my love I gave them, to guide them through this world of strife.
great glad hereafter life. I'm lonesome for my precious children. They live so far away. Oh, may they hear my calling, and come back home someday. I'm lonesome for my precious children. They live so far away. Oh, may they hear my calling, and come back home someday. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall soft upon your fields, and until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of His hand.
Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. No one, let me come in. The doors are shut and all the windows in. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. Noah said you done lost your track. You can't plow straight and keep looking back. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. If you want to go to heaven, let me tell you how. Just keep your hand on the gospel plow. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. If that plow stays in your hand, land you straight in the promised land. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. Mary had a golden chain. Every link spelled by Jesus' name. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on. Keep on climbing and don't you tire. Every round goes higher and higher. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your hand upon the plow and hold on. Oh, rejoice, ye Christians loudly, for your joy is now begun. Wondrous things our God hath done. Tell abroad His goodness proudly. Those lives were mine to love and cherish, to guard and guide along life's way. Oh, God forbid that one should perish, that one, alas, should go astray. Back in the years, with all together, around the place we'd romp and play. So lonely now, I often wonder, oh, will they come back home someday? I'm lonesome for my precious children. They live so far away. Oh, may they hear my calling and come back home someday. I gave my all for my dear children, their problems still with love I share. I'd brave life's storms, defy the tempest, to bring them home from anywhere. I lived my life, my love I gave them, to guide them through